Everyone, and thank you for continuing to join us live. It's wonderful that we can participate together in these meditation classes while you're at home, and we want to keep the community connected, so please feel free to put hello in the chat box or put any questions that you may have during the teachings in the chat box. You can log in as a guest if you scroll all the way down, and Karam Lucy should be here shortly, so enjoy the class and have a wonderful, wonderful class. Thanks again for joining us.
Good evening, everyone. I've got a very good studio audience. You guys at home. Just to explain the setup, first of all, I'd like to say welcome. I know that person who just talked to you, that nun who just talked to you, that was Kelsang Pagma. She's our education coordinator. And as she said, because I heard her from upstairs, it's so cool, this modern technology. She said something like, we all want to stay connected. And it's very true, we really do. We want you to feel connected to the community here, and especially connected to the meditations and the teachings, and feel that you are here, actually, if you want to be here. If you don't want to be here, if you prefer to be at home on your couch, that's also fine. But nonetheless, you are right now part of our extended community. That's how I see it. I can't see you directly, obviously. You can see me. I can't see you. I think that may put you at an advantage. I'm not sure. Or it may put me at an advantage. Who knows? But it's lovely to have you. And as Pagma said, we would love it if you wanted to say hello in the chat box and announce yourself. For one thing, it's nice for the teacher, and that would be me right now, to have some idea of who is tuning in. Just have some idea. It's actually quite helpful. It's not essential, but it's kind of nice. So if you would like to announce yourself, please do so. So one other thing is, it's Tuesday night. This is usually LJ's night. We have tried hard to get this live stream up and running, and we have succeeded. And so far, it's been 1 week now, and we're happy with how it's going. I think we're very lucky because we have Josh, and he is an expert, and he has got us with some very good quality streaming. So we're very lucky and appreciative. But right now, because we're all on lockdown, LJ cannot come to this Cap Hill, Marion Street, to teach her class, so I'm teaching it for her. However, Josh, being a wizard, is preparing to help LJ and others, maybe some other teachers here as well, to be able to teach from their own homes on this channel, which would be amazing. Depending on how long all this goes on for, you're going to get sick and tired if it's just me. So we're going to bring in LJ and some other teachers as well over time. This is what Josh is working on. Just so you know, it's not that you're not going to see LJ. Those of you who come regularly on a Tuesday, she'll be back. But for now, tonight, I'm very happy to be here doing this. And like I say, we are, just so you know, the setup, our center downtown is physically closed. But we're very lucky because in this house, which was originally the center about 7 years ago, we still have a lovely meditation room. We still have a lovely shrine, and its house is full of really quite lovely people who are being kind of helpful right now. it must be said. Oh, I got a smile out of them finally. I don't know if they're the best studio audience. Okay, that's a bit better. They're supposed to laugh at all my jokes. I saw I was looking at some of the late night comics the other day. There was some clip about the late night comics and how they were now having to broadcast from their homes. And it was so interesting, actually, because normally there's so much razzmatazz and like bands and glitz and glamour, and, you know, the guests come on and it's all like celebrities. But actually, they were just like filming it on their porch or on their sofa, depending. And one of them, I can't remember which one, had his wife was just filming it, and it was him and her. And he could have been literally anybody. And then he interviewed, I think it was Jennifer Gardner, and she just came on her video, and she was in her kitchen. She was like making muffins or something. She could have been absolutely anyone as well. And I thought, this really is the great leveler, this COVID-19. We're all exactly the same. And I thought, if they can basically broadcast from their house, I can as well. We all could. Not to give you all ideas or anything, or maybe give you ideas. Maybe this is your chance to become a famous TV presenter or personality. I'm just saying, anyone could do it. For as far as I know, you just need Zoom or Vimeo or something, and then you can do it. I suppose it helps if you have something either funny to say, maybe, or something hopefully meaningful to say, which at some point I'll get around to. Okay, I got a laugh from that as well. So my plan tonight is to say some stuff. That's this bit. And then we're going to do a really nice, relaxing meditation. But I'm going to say some stuff first, giving you time to kind of settle. And then when we go into the meditation, hopefully you'll feel settled and you'll be ready to do a really lovely meditation. There's a saying in the Buddhist scriptures that meditating, even just doing like a simple breathing meditation, the idea is that we really look forward to it, that we see it as a real respite or even a respite, whatever you call it, from suffering, a way to both cope with suffering by feeling peaceful and also transcend suffering. And there's an analogy that's given of an elephant who, tormented by the heat of the midday sun, willingly plunges into a cool lotus pool. That's the kind of idea we should have about meditation. If we think, oh, meditation's really hard work, it really requires me to concentrate, which I'm no good at, and I'm actually pretty bad at meditation, this is not the right attitude to have towards meditation, whether you've been doing it for a while or whether you're just coming to it now. It's not true. Anyone can meditate. If you know how to meditate, you can meditate. You're no different to anyone else who's meditated ever in the past. Everyone who comes to meditation has the same issues in their mind. They have the same distractions and so on. And anyone can learn, therefore, to meditate. And this I promise you. So basically, we look forward to this meditation like an elephant plunging into a lotus pool. And so we can look forward to that, but I want to say a few things first. One thing is that I've invented a new game. Sorry, I can't resist saying this. At 5 o'clock today, our mayor, as you know, because you live here, Mayor Hancock, sent a message to us all saying you can never go outside again, ever. And, you know, what is amazing to me is that we took it. There's no right. Everyone's like, oh, whatever. All right then, I'll just stay inside for the rest of my life. I mean, like 2 weeks ago, I do believe there would have been a riot if the mayor had said to everyone in an emergency text message, you're not allowed outside anymore unless you're ill or need some food. But no, we're very good citizens. And actually, that's a good thing. I'm not knocking it. I think it's amazing how quickly people have adapted to this. I really do. People are, quickly putting the greater good ahead of themselves. And I think it's an amazing thing, to be honest. to see the kindness and the cooperation and the sense of obligation that we have towards one another. I actually think it's a wonderful thing to observe because it's not easy. No one likes being stuck at home, least of all millennials who could be running around with each other in the park. Well, they are actually. They're still doing that. Yeah. But in groups of more than 3 people, they could be partying. But as it is, they're at home with mum and dad instead of with their friends. Nothing wrong with mum and dad, obviously, but you know what I mean. So, generally speaking, of course, being able to stay home is a luxury that not everybody has. Being confined to our houses, I suppose, is the least we can do, to be honest. But given what other people are having to put up with right now, don't have homes, or else they're working on the front lines trying to save our lives. Massive salute to everybody who's doing that. But nonetheless, it's still not easy. Even those of us who have it best, I don't think we can say, generally speaking, it's an alarming time for everybody, especially if you watch too much news, by the way. There is only so much news you need to watch every day, if you ask my opinion, because honestly, things are changing all the time, but not like every 10 minutes. Maybe just check in twice a day. You'll probably get your information that way. And even if you don't, you're going to get a text message. We did today. Did everyone in here get that text message? Yeah, everybody in here got that text message. Yeah, you did. If you have a phone, you got it. Oh, they don't have to. They're not part of the order. Anyway, I was going to tell you about my new game. Because we are still allowed to go out and take walks and run around. Providing, of course, we keep a 6 feet distance from each other. So my new game is trying to go for a walk and keep a 6 feet distance from everyone. Have you tried this? It's a lot easier here than in New York, believe you me. We're very lucky to still have space out in which we can walk, because I know from my friends in New York, it's immensely challenging. Wherever they go, keeping a 6 feet distance, frankly, not very possible. Not very easy. Too many people, too little space. So, I don't know, I've been counting myself lucky that I wasn't somewhere else when we got the lockdown order. And although there is a social distancing, I think one thing that is happening is that people are feeling, ironically, closer to each other, because one thing we are understanding is that we are all in this together. The actual title of tonight's talk is something about overcoming blame and guilt, I believe. And I was thinking about this, and blame, there's no one to blame, is there, for this? No human being. You can blame the pangolin bat or whatever if you want to, but obviously it's not their fault either. Our common enemy right now is not each other. It never is, in fact. Our common enemy is suffering. Our common enemy is the delusions in our mind that cause us to do crazy things. And in this instance, the common enemy is this tiny little piece of genetic code or whatever it is, virus, which you can't even see with the naked eye. The COVID-19. We're all in this together. We all understand each other right now better in a way than usual, because we're all experiencing similar things. Some people are experiencing a lot worse things, but in general we all know this is a worldwide thing. It is, as I said, a great leveler. Not only has it brought the top comedians down to everyone else's level from that point of view, celebrities, just like everybody else, of course, always have been, but also everyone in the world. We're all exactly no difference between us and anyone else in the whole world. So all those general divisions and distinctions and partisanship that we, tribalism and the rest of it, right now we're all one tribe, aren't we? So I'm going to come back to that later, because what I really want to talk about is how the best place to start when it comes to dealing with suffering in general, and the situation in particular, is to restore some peace and equilibrium to our minds and hearts, to feel more peaceful inside, to access that feeling of peace that we have inside us, deep inside us. And that's really what I want to talk about, and then do a meditation with you. I think it's fair to say that Buddhism in general, and Kadampa Buddhism in particular, is made to deal with suffering. That's what it's all about. So Buddha Shakyamuni, his very first teaching that he gave was called the Four Noble Truths. And the first truth was, studio audience, truth of suffering, no suffering. And what Buddha was talking about is that life, where we are identifying ourselves with a contaminated or impure body and mind, is always suffering. There's always something going wrong. Always. There's the big stuff, there's the sickness, there's the aging, there's a death, there's rebirth. Go through the whole cycle again. As I've been saying this week, we already have a very weird disease. It's called aging. None of us get out of here alive, COVID-19 or not. It's just a question of when. At most we have a few hundred months of this life left, and that's just a fact. This virus is freaking everyone out because actually it's showing us that we're very vulnerable. But we have to transcend that fear of being vulnerable. We have to transcend our fear of death and suffering and the rest of it. But we'll never do that if we never face up to it and acknowledge it, and then understand the second noble truth, which is the truth of origins. To know origins, we need to know where the suffering is deep down actually from. Why do we keep experiencing physical pain, illnesses, sicknesses over and over again? Why are we in a meaty, impure body to begin with? Why? Why have we got these basically pain machines? Why are we wandering around in machines that pain meaty bodies that can be struck down with a tiny little piece of virus? That's a bit of a design flaw. So why? Why are we even in these bodies and thinking they're me to begin with? Generally, we never question these things. It's way too deep. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe 3 a.m. in the morning, we're like, what the heck? Where did I come from? Where am I going? What's death? What's going to happen? Because it's very weird when you look at life up close, then you realize it's weird. It's very weird to be getting old and sick and dying. Generally, we have these kind of narratives in our life that we cling to for dear life. And of course, we copy and follow everyone else's narratives. Narrative, maybe go to school, get up in the morning, go to school, whatever, learn stuff, pass exams, get a job, maybe get married, have kids, get them to go to school, learn stuff, get jobs, get married. Anyway, nothing wrong with kids and school and learning stuff and having jobs, but it's not the be-all and end-all of our existence. But it can lull us into feeling that it is. We can feel that it is the be-all and end-all of life, but of course it's not. Life is far deeper than that. We are far deeper than that. There's far more to us than that. But if we get lulled into our routines and our habits and our ordinary normal lives, we forget to be extraordinary. We forget that we can be extraordinary. We forget that life can be anything we want it to be, if we understand our mind, if we understand where everything is coming from. So Buddha went very, very deep in his analysis of suffering and the different types of suffering. And nothing that we're seeing now with this COVID-19 is any exception to the rule of suffering that Buddha taught. He taught about the sufferings of sickness. He taught about the sufferings of uncertainty, sufferings of loneliness, sufferings of fear, delusions. There's nothing new. Nothing new. Which is why he explained then truth of origins. Where is it coming from? It's coming from our ignorance, our self-grasping ignorance, grasping at a me or a self where there is one not to be found. It comes from our anger, it comes from our attachment, it comes from our jealousy, our general confusion. With our thoughts, we create our world. And I'm not going to go deep into that right now because it's not time. But in general, just so you know, this is why Buddha appeared. This is why he so-called turned the wheel of Dharma. Taught 84,000 teachings to help us understand where sufferings come from and really more importantly, how to get rid of it. Which is very possible. The third noble truth is called true cessation. It's the truth of cessation, which means it's possible to have a life that is completely free from ignorance, completely free from all delusions, unpeaceful, uncontrolled minds, all distorted thinking. It's possible to have a life that is completely blissful, peaceful, free. Possible to have a life of liberation, enlightenment. We all have the potential for that. Always have done. So Buddha explained in the fourth noble truth, True Paths, explaining all his 84,000 teachings, showing us the methods to gain freedom and to realize our deepest potential, which is the potential we have for universal love and universal compassion, the omniscient wisdom, and complete freedom from all suffering and negativity, impurity. We all have that potential. We always have had it. But we're so busy normally, as we're going outside, doing stuff, getting lulled into our habits and routines and so on, and following this kind of seemingly predetermined narrative of life, just because everyone else is doing it. Something like this comes along and actually shakes us up a little bit. From that point of view, as it says in Buddhism, suffering has good qualities. One major reason being it shakes us up. It makes us question. Like, I don't know about you, but even though I know samsara, this cycle of impure life, is completely crazy. I know it is. I know it's completely crazy. But still, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, huh? That wasn't a dream? This is actually still going on? Do you know what I mean? Right now, things seem rather dreamlike and unreal, don't they? Yes. Thanks, Shema. And people are saying things like, I mean, you couldn't make this up. It's so surreal. Things are really weird right now and surreal. I mean, we got a message at 5 telling us not to go out the house. And we're like, whatever. That's just normal. Of course we don't go out of the house. Obviously, thanks, May Hancock. It's weird. I had no idea anyone had that kind of power to keep us in our houses. Did you? Parents. Yeah, if you're a kid. But it just shows we think we have control on this stuff, but we've no control at all over anything. We never have had control. And in this kind of like surreal, dreamlike landscape we find ourselves in, it says, you know, someone said if they made a movie of this, she wouldn't watch it. It's way too far-fetched. You know, we have these kind of pandemic movies, don't they? It's like, yeah, that's never going to happen. Way too far-fetched. And in one level, we know this is just the beginning, don't we? I mean, I'm not trying to depress you all at home, sorry. But on one level, you know, I don't know. Let's not even go there. But the point is, we can do something about it because we can gain mastery over our minds. And that is the only way we're going to gain mastery over our lives, frankly. It's the only way. It's the only way we're going to experience freedom and happiness, regardless of what's going on in our lives. We need this, and everybody needs it. So if this COVID-19 is helping us to think a little bit more deeply about who we are, where we're going, where suffering comes from, think a little bit more about the big picture, you know, our existential predicament. If it's doing any of that, fantastic. Honestly, fantastic. We need to ask these questions, otherwise we stay trapped in a state of confusion. If this situation we find ourselves in is encouraging us to learn how to meditate or get better at meditating, because we know, one part of us knows that meditation makes us happy and peaceful, frees our thoughts, then that's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. It becomes an opportunity for us, as opposed to something just terrifying and weird. The very terrifying weirdness of it is what's encouraging us to gain some mastery over our thoughts, over our minds, and to become someone who's deeply stable, joyful, not confused, someone who is a real source also of strength for other people. If this virus is making us think like that, and it's making us tune in to meditation classes and pick up books and read and try some meditation at home, that's all amazing, because what will happen is we'll end up better off than when it even started. I was saying that, Buddhism in general, Buddha appeared and he taught the Four Noble Truths, and then within Buddhism in general, Kadampa Buddhism in particular, there's a practice called transforming adverse conditions into the path to enlightenment. And this is where, where we actually apply Buddha's teachings to whatever is arising in our lives. It's not an abstract kind of philosophy that we read and get, whoa, that's pretty crazy cool stuff Buddha said, and then maybe we impress people at parties with it. No, it's meant to be practiced, all of it. And it's meant to be practiced with whatever's coming up in our life, whether things are going well, and also, especially when things are not going well. Transforming adverse conditions or transforming difficulties into the spiritual path means that we use what we've learned, we apply it to whatever circumstances we meet, and we increase our love. As a result, we increase our insight and our compassion, our patience, and other good qualities as a result. Because now it's where the rubber meets the road, as they say. Do they say that? Thanks, Doug. Where the rubber meets the road. This is where the rubber meets the road. Our training, if you've trained already, and if you've learned any Buddhist teachings, if you already heard some teachings on overcoming delusions and increasing your love, increasing your inner peace, and any other teachings that you've heard, this is the time really to bring them out and use them. And they will really, really, really help. Nothing else actually will help as much as bringing out these teachings and applying them to whatever circumstances we meet, including everything that's going on at the moment. So it's an important practice, and it's what really genuinely allows us to free our minds. So I think CNN themselves are saying that everyone should be meditating now. One thing I said about this, the title of this tonight's topic is, I can't remember as I said exactly, but it's something about overcoming blame and guilt. And there's no one to blame other than this virus. We're all in this together. So if we want to blame anything, we should be blaming suffering and the causes of suffering that lie within our minds, not each other, not people. People and their delusions are not the same. Also, we don't need to feel guilty, and I'm just going to talk to this, and in the CNN quote that I'm thinking of, they were saying you shouldn't feel bad about getting your Zen on or something like that. I can't remember the exact words. You shouldn't feel bad about feeling peaceful and happy inside when, I'm paraphrasing this now, I'm making it up. But they said something along the lines of, don't feel bad about meditating and feeling good while all this craziness is going on. And this is such a good point I thought they made. I mean, they only made it as one sentence point, but I thought it was a very good point. They said you shouldn't feel bad because actually it's very important that we stay mentally healthy at this time. And it's absolutely true. It is very important that we stay mentally healthy, and meditation will enable us to do that. But also, if we are using these circumstances to increase our peace and to increase our compassion, increase our love, increase our wisdom, and as a result we're feeling really happy, there's nothing to be guilty about. I have to say something. Earlier I was saying to Pagman, what are you going to say in the announcements? And she said, oh, I'm just going to welcome them, blah, blah, blah. She said, but I'm not quite sure. Should I look happy? She said, I'm feeling really happy, but maybe I shouldn't like look like I'm happy, because I should be miserable because everyone's having a bad time. And I said, like, great, but I mean, if Buddha said that would be a bit of a disaster, wouldn't it? If like Buddha was like, oh, they're all so sad and depressed, all these living beings I'm trying to rescue, I'm just going to act like I'm really sad and depressed too. That will really help them. No, it really doesn't help. If we are developing inner peace, if we are able to overcome our anxiety and able to increase our love and our wisdom and our compassion, which we will be able to if we apply the teachings, that will make us happier. And there's nothing to feel guilty about, because if we're happier, we can help. We have something to give. We have something to offer. We have become a source of strength and protection for other people. There's nothing to feel guilty about. Don't get survivor's guilt if you're enjoying your meditation time. Someone else on Facebook was saying that she'd been doing all these practices, meditation practices. She never normally got the time, and she was feeling so happy and peaceful. And she said, I feel really guilty how good I feel. So anyway, that's something, we're overcoming blame and guilt today. So that's a kind of guilt. I'm just talking to that kind of guilt. Guilt of feeling like I shouldn't be enjoying myself when other people are suffering. That's if you are enjoying yourself. You may be feeling miserable, in which case no need for guilt. But those of you who are practicing meditation, and that was only a joke, by the way. If you're practicing meditation, if you do find that it makes you more peaceful and happy, that's wonderful, because then you really have something valuable to share with other people. Geshe-la once said, maybe he said it more than once, but he said there are enough unhappy people in this world already. He said, don't be unhappy. There are enough unhappy people in the world already. So we need to be like siding with the solution, which is peace, which is freedom, which is not being anxious, not being deluded, but actually having peaceful and positive wisdom states of mind arising. Having a mind like a bodhisattva, which is a source of refuge for all living beings. So the first step to getting to that point where we have a mind that is a source of refuge for all living beings is to tune into the refuge that we have inside us, which comes from just in the first instance, from just allowing our mind to relax, for allowing our delusions, worries and problems to just die down for a little bit, to dive below the turbulence and the waves of the deep ocean of our mind and experience that extraordinary peace that we have inside us, which is called our Buddha nature. It's always there when the delusions are not functioning. So nowadays, maybe the question on people's lips is, what can I trust? What can I trust in these uncertain times? And one thing we can trust is our Buddha nature. We can trust that potential we have inside us for peace and for freedom and for happiness. We've always had this capacity. And we can trust it. And we can trust the methods that help us bring out that Buddha nature, such as the methods that increase our wisdom and our compassion. And all the Dharma teachings the Buddha gave, 84,000 teachings that help us to get rid of our negativities, our delusions, our sufferings, and help us cultivate our good qualities, including our compassion, wisdom, and so on. We can trust all that. It'll help us, always help us, regardless of what else is going on. So that's the place to start, is learning to experience some peace inside through some simple breathing meditation and relaxing, which we're going to do very soon. And we access that peace and we identify with it. We think, actually, I'm peaceful inside. And we allow ourselves to feel good. We allow ourselves to feel at rest, at ease, contented, not worried. And we understand that this feeling of peace and actual inner happiness is just the tip of the iceberg. It goes on forever. We've got the capacity to be as blissful as an enlightened being, to be an actual enlightened being. So here it says, Geshe-la says in the book, the New Meditation Handbook, which, by the way, on Wednesday nights, I'm going through this book, meditation by meditation, for the next. We're on meditation 3 tomorrow. So, and there's 21 meditations altogether. You do the math. But actually, it's very good timing, because each of these meditations will help us deal with what's going on. And they, together, the 21 meditations in this book, comprise the entire path to enlightenment. So we're actually, as I say, tomorrow, we're working our way through this book. We're on meditation number 3 tomorrow. So I hope you can join us, unless you've got other things to do, like binge Netflix or something. Anyway, I'm kidding. But if you do have time, then we'd love to have you. So at the beginning of that book, Geshe-la gives some explanation just about the benefits of meditation in general. And he says the purpose of meditation is to make our mind calm and peaceful. That means every meditation. Even when we meditate on scary things like death and suffering, the meditation has the effect of making our mind calm and peaceful. Why? Because we're actually tuning ourselves into wisdom, to understanding. And when we experience understanding and wisdom, our mind becomes very peaceful. It's when we're confused and deluded that we feel unpeaceful. So even the simplest breathing meditation brings about calm, brings about peace in our mind. But when we get into other forms of meditation, deeper forms of Buddhist meditation, we find that calm and that peace grows and grows and grows and grows, gets very, very deep and stable. If our mind is peaceful, Geshe-la says, we will be free from worries and mental discomfort. And so we will experience true happiness. But if our mind is not peaceful, we'll find it very difficult to be happy, even if we're living in the very best conditions. If we train in meditation, our mind will gradually become more and more peaceful, and we will experience a purer and purer form of happiness. Eventually, we'll be able to stay happy all the time, even in the most difficult circumstances. So I'll come back to this section of the book after our meditation. But what I'd like to do now is guide you through a relaxing meditation. And basically, those of you at home, if you are sitting on the sofa or the couch, what do you call it around here? Settee? Or the both? Sorry. Or the either or. Anyway, if you're sitting on your sofa, couch / settee, that's fine. Do, by all means, or on your armchair, but just make sure your back is straight, because otherwise you might nod off, okay? When we meditate, the reason we sit up straight is it helps us stay alert. So we keep our back straight, but our back shouldn't be rigid or uncomfortable. We want to be in a position that we can maintain or sustain for 20 minutes or so. And basically, if you're on a chair, you can have both your feet flat on the ground. Maybe if you're at home, I usually say turn off the gadgets, but I'm not going to say that now because I'll disappear. Mind you, you're welcome at any point to turn me off. There's nothing I can do about it. That's fine. And yeah, but basically maybe for the next 20 minutes, if you can think about reducing any distractions around you, that'd be a good time to do it. Because I'm going to guide you through a meditation, and it's going to involve a little bit of breathing meditation, a little bit of relaxing. And what we're going to experience, with any luck, is just a little bit more peace in our heart. But that's enough for us to know what we're made of. And it's enough for us to know there's more where that came from. And this is where we need to start with that. It's like in the analogy of the... I was using the analogy of the ocean earlier, because Buddha said our mind is like this vast, deep, boundless, clear ocean. We are very deep. Spiritually, we have extraordinary depth to us. But we're being tossed around primarily on the surface of the ocean, because we're so usually geared towards external activities and going outside, not understanding what we have inside us, so preoccupied with what's going on outside us. But when we allow our mind to settle and we go within, we discover we have this deeper knowing inside. And we understand we have this really depths, reservoir of peace. We can change our thoughts and we can completely change our experiences. We have this amazing potential. So that's one analogy he used. And another analogy Buddha used for our Buddha nature is that of an infinite clear sky. Crystal clear, pervaded by peace, if a sky could be peaceful. And our various delusions and worries and our anxieties and our fears are like clouds in that sky, passing through. We cling on to them for dear life, but they are not who we are. And even breathing meditation allows us to let go of at least some of them so that we feel more spacious and more peaceful. Okay, so if you're at home and you want to do a quick stand up and stretch, and be my guest. Sound okay, Pagma? Okay, so we can begin our meditation by sitting, as I said, comfortably with a straight back. Just allowing yourself some time now to bring your awareness into how you're sitting. Draw that awareness inwards. Forget about everything outside of your body. So your shoulders are relaxed. Your arms are relaxed. Traditionally, you can have your hands resting in your lap, or with your right hand on top of your left. 2 thumbs slightly raised and touching. If you're used to meditating in a different position, that's also fine. Your head is tilted a little forward. Your mouth is lightly closed, so you're breathing through your nose. And relax your tongue. And then gently close your eyes, or if you like, they can be slightly open. And just focus now on how you're sitting. Just thinking, being happy to be here, doing this. Okay, I now have a wonderful opportunity to dive within, to start to experience incredible peace and happiness inside me. And bring it back into my world, to other people. I'm doing this for everybody, not just me. Draw your awareness in further so that you feel centered in your heart. This means in the very center of your chest, your spiritual heart or heart chakra. This is where the deepest levels of our awareness are, where we experience things most deeply, including peace. So I think I'm in my heart, not my head. And so though your awareness drops from your head into your heart, you feel centered there. And so you're already diving below the waves and the turbulence on top of the ocean of your mind. Starting to sense the peace and depth you have inside you. Just imagine. Bring your attention now to your breath as you breathe in and out through your nostrils. First of all, bring your attention to your in-breath. And becoming aware of that sensation of air entering your nose. Tuning out everything else. And every time you breathe out, you become aware of the sensation of your out-breath. Feel as all your attention is drawn into your breath. You stay with it, breath after breath, resisting the temptation to follow any other thoughts. If your mind wanders, and don't worry, just bring it back to the breath. Every time you do this, you're strengthening your mental control, your mindfulness. Yeah, just the two instructions to follow. One is keep your attention on your breath, not following any other thoughts. But if you do find your mind has wandered, you bring it back to the next breath. And you keep doing this until your mind settles into the breath. I'm going to leave you now for a few minutes to do this, practice this. Feel that your mind is mixed with your breath, as if all that exists is the breath. As everything else has faded away, being completely tuned out. And as a result of allowing your mind to settle a little in this way, you feel that you are still and centered in your heart, experiencing some real peace in your heart. Mind feeling like empty like space, very clear, lucid, comfortable. deepen this, you can think now that everything outside of your body has melted away into clear light or pure consciousness in all directions, infinitely. Just imagine. Everything up to this moment in time has completely disappeared, like last night's dream. The past has gone. Let it go. Everything after this moment doesn't exist to begin with. So you let that go as well, feel the whole future dissolves away. Nothing there to grasp onto. And in this way, you're still and centered in your heart in the present moment. The only moment there is. Experiencing the peace and the space of your sky-like mind. Not a care in the world. All the clouds have dissolved. You can think now that any remaining tension or weight falls away from your body. All your muscles relax. And your body melts into light. Just this merest outline remaining. My body is weightless like air, translucent like a rainbow. As if I'm floating. You enjoy this for a little while. My body is like a rainbow and my mind is like clear light, like in an empty space. Very peaceful. You give yourself now permission to enjoy this peace inside you, to abide with it, to trust it. This is my Buddha nature. And even if I'm experiencing just a little bit of peace, it indicates my potential for lasting peace and lasting freedom, lasting happiness. You meditate on this, understanding. If you wish, you can understand that this peace is also connected to the peaceful, non-suffering and non-deluded reality of enlightenment, true nature of things, the mind of a Buddha. Your mind is mixed with that of the countless enlightened beings. If you think this, and your mind is filled with inspiration and blessings. And finally you think that this is me. This is who I really am. I'm a peaceful person with boundless potential. You get used to the sense of yourself, thinking this is me for the last couple of minutes. And as you prepare to rise from your meditation, you think, I don't need to forget that I have this peace inside me. My mind is naturally peaceful. I can return to this whenever I want. I can trust it. You make some decision or plan to do this. And without rushing, let's just gently rise from your meditation when you're ready. Okay, so welcome back. And generally at this point, I ask how everyone got on. How did you get on, studio audience? You're not saying anything? What? Just fine. And I often ask at this point if anybody has any questions yet about the meditation we just did, anything about meditation, or anything I've said so far this evening. If you do, you can put it in that chat box. So you don't have to log in or anything, you just have to go to the bottom and join in as a guest, I do believe. So if you wish to do that, please do that. Pagma's making faces in an alarming way. It's all working still. Lapsam, did you have a question?
The question is, people ask me a lot how to meditate.
Mm-hmm.
And mostly people, they don't have any experience, they like to meditate because of these times we have right now.
Yes. Can everyone hear him, by the way? Because generally the microphone's really good. Lapsam's asking about people asking him to meditate in these times.
Phone calls from all over.
Phone calls from all over.
Because I'm sitting down, try to meditate, but my mind gets crazier.
So people are saying, I sit down, try to meditate, but my mind gets crazier.
More uncomfortable.
Yeah, because people are not used to sitting down and being alone with their own thoughts. Generally speaking, this is a lost art that we very much need to reclaim if we have any hope of sanity. So, I've mentioned this experiment before because it's quite telling. It was a science journal published the findings of an experiment where they basically, how many people was it? I can't remember, but I don't know, 800 people or something. Anyway, they got them to sit on their own in a room. Oh my gosh, that's what's going on right now. A lot of people going crazy. And they took away all their gadgets. Okay, so at least everyone's still got their gadgets. Unless, of course, Mayor Hancock decides to stop the internet. Just saying. Anyway, so you can imagine a situation. You're sitting in a room. You have no gadgets. And the experiment was to see how long people could last before they administered themselves little electric shocks to get their phones back. I promise you that was the experiment. And they did regular people to see how long people would sit alone with their thoughts. And do you know what the average time was? Don't know why I'm smiling. It's quite. It's 8 to 12 minutes. 8 to 12 minutes. At which point people wanted their phones back. And the inventors of the study were surprised it was such a short period of time that people could basically sit alone with their own minds. That's all they're asking people to do is sit alone in a room with no distraction. Alone with their own thoughts, alone with their own minds. And 8 to 12 minutes without anything to look at or, not even sitting by a lake or anything like that, just in a plain room. So in other words, just alone with their minds. And after 8 to 12 minutes, they prefer to administer themselves electric shocks rather than have to sit there any longer. And the study found that people are scared of their thoughts because they have a lot of unprocessed sadness. And I thought this was very interesting because normally Geshe-la talks about it in the book How to Solve Our Human Problems, about how the painful feelings in our mind don't need to be so scary. We're scared of them because we don't look at them. We don't understand that they're like weather in the mind. They're not the mind itself. They're like weather in the sky, not the sky itself. They're like the clouds that pass through. And if we don't look at what's going on in our thoughts and we don't come to know ourselves and our minds, then all we do is end up repressing stuff, pushing stuff down, pretending that it's not there. And then that manifests in all sorts of anxiety and all sorts of physical illnesses as well. We need not be so scared of our own thoughts. They can't kill us. They can't actually do anything to us if we don't let them. They're just thoughts. And this is something that we really learn about in meditation, to just be happy to sit with our own thoughts, watch our own minds, but without identifying with all those clouds. It's like watching the sky on a clear day and some clouds are going by, and you know there's interesting, strange looking clouds going past, but you think, okay, these are rising, but I'm actually interested in the sky, identifying with the sky. In the same way, when we meditate, all sorts of anxiety and stuff, maybe it comes up, thoughts are coming up. It's coming up anyway, by the way. Meditation doesn't make it come up. It's already coming up, but normally we try and distract ourselves from it. This time we just accept that these cloud-like thoughts are coming up, but they can't destroy my mind any more than, as Geshe-la says, clouds can destroy a sky. A thunderstorm can destroy a sky. It can't. And I think that's the advice you give people. They don't need to fear their own thoughts, but they're only getting crazier because they're grasping at those thoughts as being real and solid. They need to understand those thoughts are cloud-like and identify with the sky. So when we do our breathing meditation, really by focusing on our breath, even at our nostrils, just the simplest type of breathing meditation that there is the one we just did, where we focused at our breath, at our nostrils. What that does is we're taking our attention away from all our other cloud-like thoughts, putting on the breath, and as a result, those thoughts have no choice but to slowly but surely dissolve away. Thoughts are only there for as long as we're thinking them. Another really important understanding. Our thoughts are not solid. They're not autonomous. What happens to a thought when we stop thinking it? What happens to anxiety when we're not feeling anxious? What happens to all our panicked thoughts when we're not thinking those thoughts? Where do they go? They just disappear, don't they? Buddha said the reason we're suffering is because our mind at the moment is in control of us. It's calling all the shots. Thoughts come and we just follow those thoughts as if we have no choice. Some anger rises and we think, I'm angry. We follow those thoughts. We can't let go, and we identify with them thinking, I'm angry. We need to reverse this situation, Buddha said, so that we are in charge of our thoughts, not the other way around. We get to choose which thoughts we think. We get to choose which thoughts we follow. And we discover which thoughts will lead us to peace and happiness and freedom and sanity and kindness. Thoughts of love and thoughts of patience, thoughts of wisdom. We learn to think those thoughts. And we learn to let go of the thoughts that are just absolutely useless at best. Painful. The deluded thoughts of anxiety and anger and attachment. Above all, self-cherishing, self-grasping ignorance. Thinking, me, me, me. So, these things we learn in the practice of meditation. But the first step is understanding that we don't need to fear our thoughts. We are far bigger than our thoughts. If we identify with our sky-like mind, we get our thoughts in perspective like clouds. Even on the most overcast day, if we know the nature of the sky, we don't have to be intimidated. So you can tell your friends those kinds of things. Pleasure. Any questions so far, Ms. Pagma? So, I was looking at this chapter. It's the foundation of the Meditation Handbook. I'm going to say just a few more things. And then, and then if you want to know anything more about what I've said so far and this bit that I'm about to read to you now, it's also in the book called How to Transform Your Life. It's a chapter in there about meditation. And if you get that book, you can actually download it as a free gift from the author, Venerable Geshe-la. He's given that book to everybody who wants it. Extraordinarily kind. And many, many people have millions, I don't know about millions, but I think it's had about 1 million downloads or something over the years since he gave it as a gift. Very welcome to go to, it's called How to Transform Your Life. If you type in How to Transform Your Life and free ebook, I'm pretty sure it'll get you to one of the places that sells it, or doesn't sell it because it's free, but lets you download it. And in that, you'll find a chapter called What is Meditation? And in there, that explains this breathing meditation at the nostrils that we just did. And it also explains some of the benefits of meditation that I'm about to read. And the reason I'm saying this is you got time at home now to read stuff. I'm just saying, this is a great time to read Buddhist books and meditation books. You know, so often people say, oh, my life is so busy, I don't have time to meditate, I don't have time to study books, I don't have time to even read or anything, I don't have time. I hear that so often. Well, right now, one thing if we're lucky enough to be at home, I might as well add, without all the normal distractions that we have, then right now we do have time. We really do have time. So we can either fill that time with feeling restless and bored and, I don't know, just binge watching and so on and so forth, or we can actually schedule some time in our day, every day, to do some reading right now. Like How to Transform Your Life. One piece of advice would be to download that book and just read a few pages every day. Just not like a magazine, not really fast or anything, just read a few lines and then contemplate it in your heart. See that, let that meaning come alive in your heart, and then contemplate a few more lines, contemplate that meaning. And if you have any questions come up, I've been saying that you can ask me any questions that are coming up. You can use my email, rt@meditationincolorado.org, or you can ask on the chat box, or you can ask LJ when she teaches next week, and so on. Anyway, there's ways to get your questions answered if they come up, but you can also answer a lot of your own questions if you take the time to really contemplate the meaning and ask yourself questions about it. Take it to heart. So I'm saying this because this is a chance to do that. You know, when there are less distractions. I know if you've got kids at home, possibly, definitely, in fact, challenging. You've probably got less time than usual. I get that. You get a chance now to practice a lot of patience, which is fantastic, virtuous mind. But if you do have time, I'm talking to those of you who are feeling bored and restless and wanting to go out a lot and can't. Transform it by going inside instead and accessing that incredible richness that you have inside you. A huge world inside you. And one way to do that is reading a good book. A good Buddhist book. How to Transform Your Life. Completely free. Another free book also is Modern Buddhism. And the URL for that is emodernbuddhism.com. And that's another very powerful book. So by the time we're let out of our houses, you could have read 2 amazing books for free. Just saying. If you're stuck for ideas of what to do at home, I just gave you 2 really good ideas. So the benefits of meditation, as I was saying earlier, I'm reading, if we train in meditation, our mind will gradually become more and more peaceful. Truth, it will. And we will experience a purer and purer form of happiness. And what that means is an unconditional happiness, a happiness that isn't dependent on other people doing nice things or us going out for meals or whatever. Just a happiness that comes from within, an actual feeling of happiness, joy inside. And that will become purer and purer, deeper and deeper, and eventually we'll be able to stay happy all the time, even in the most difficult circumstances. And what this will do is it will solve our problems. It will start to solve our problems. So I just need to mention, for those of you who don't know, that there are 2 types of problem that we need to solve. And they're called inner problems and outer problems. And COVID-19 is an outer problem, insofar as it's something that needs to be fixed with outer means. Science, distancing, social distancing, sanitary wipes, toilet paper. No, I'm not sure we need the toilet paper, but it needs external solutions because it's an outer problem, external problem. An inner problem is when we react to an outer problem with an unhappy mind. Buddha had made this distinction between inner and outer problems, which is immensely helpful. Because normally we conflate the two. Normally we think our outer problems are our inner problems, as if we have no choice in the matter. But truthfully, an outer problem like a coronavirus, we can choose to freak out, panic, get upset, think, hoard toilet paper and the rest of it. Or we can respond in a completely different way by thinking about compassion, thinking about others, thinking it's a chance to change things up, it's a chance to help other people, it's a chance to really increase my love, and so on. And stay peaceful, stay positive, at which point we do not have an inner problem. We still have to sort out the corona problem, but we don't have the inner problem. The solutions to the outer and inner problems are different. The solution to the outer problem is outer means, like I just said, and the solution to the inner problem is really the teachings, putting them to practice. Learning how to become wiser and calmer and kinder and the rest of it through meditation. And when I talk about meditation, I don't just mean when we sit quietly with our eyes closed, like we just did. That is, of course, meditation. But meditation also is something we do whenever we're familiarizing our mind with positivity, whenever we're familiarizing our mind with patience, whenever we're feeling kind, whenever we're familiarizing our mind with overcoming our anger, practicing patience instead, or familiarizing our mind with wisdom, whenever we're thinking positive thoughts, then actually we are meditating, because meditation means familiarity with virtue. That's its literal meaning. Familiarizing ourselves with virtuous states of mind, positive states of mind. And we can be doing this all day long. In fact, the idea is that we learn to do it along with everything that we're doing all day. Not just 10 minutes once a week feeling peaceful in our heart and then going back to craziness again. The point is, meditation is a way of life in that sense. It's something that when we familiarize ourselves with positive ways of thinking and seeing the world. And if we do that, then we are solving our inner problems. Eventually those inner problems stay solved. That's the end goal. In the meantime, we solve them every day and our mind becomes more and more under our control, becomes more and more peaceful, and then eventually we have no more negative minds. Only peaceful minds, positive minds. Geshe-la says here, if we train in meditation systematically, we will eventually be able to eradicate the delusions from our mind that are the causes of all our problems and suffering, our actual problems, our inner problems. In this way, we will come to experience permanent inner peace. Then day and night, in life after life, we will experience only peace and happiness. So basically, there's more in this chapter about the benefits of meditation, and there's a section called How to Begin Meditation, which is the meditation we just did. Stop distractions, make our mind clearer and more lucid through focusing on the sensation of our breath at our nostrils. And that chapter, the same chapter, is in How to Transform Your Life. And so my suggestion is, as Geshe-la says here, by training in meditation, we create an inner space and clarity that enable us to control our mind regardless of the external circumstances. So this difference between inner and outer problems, I thought, was quite well encapsulated by a post Alex put out when COVID first hit us. It was at the center. It said, "Keep calm and wash your hands." Keep calm is solving our inner problem. Washing our hands is solving the outer problem. Ideally, we do both. But if you had to choose one, you'd choose the first. No, actually, washing hands is also an act of cherishing others as it happens. So you have to do both. But in general, if we have to choose between solving our inner and outer problems, solve your inner problems first. With that, we're then able to solve our outer problems because our mind is peaceful and we see the bigger picture. It's easier for us to fix things and to help others. So that pretty much brings me to the end of tonight's online streaming meditation class. I don't know if anyone was watching me. Pagma says they were, but I have my studio audience, so that's very nice. They're going to be so bored of me soon, but never mind. They're great bodhisattvas. If you have any questions for me, like I said, rt@meditationincolorado.org. And also, Pagma's going to say, I think, a couple more things in a minute, just to see you on your way. I very much hope that you will tune in often. I mean, one amazing thing is that we have this class pass now, which means that for, $12 a week, I think it is, basically you can come to all our classes now. So it's the same as having a membership, actually. So anyway, we thought that would be much easier for everybody if we offered that to you, and we really do want to help out in this time. If there's anything that you would like us to do, or topics you'd like us to cover, we're open to ideas. We have ideas of our own, but we're also open to your ideas. So again, you can send them to Pagma, EPC@meditationincolorado.org, or to me. And nothing for me left to say other than thank you very much, everyone. Stay well and stay happy inside. And I will see you either tomorrow, Sunday, or some other time. Bye.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you again for joining us tonight. I just wanted to say that if you enjoyed tuning in and you'd like to make it easier on yourself each week, you can become a monthly supporter and get the password emailed to you every Monday. And more information about that is on the live stream page. And hope to see you tomorrow or Sunday or any other time. The schedule is also on the live stream page, or you can look at the events calendar for more information, and have a wonderful night. Bye.